With the release of TPOT 12, fans all over the globe rejoice to receive yet another episode installment in the BFDI universe, despite all the leakers that tried to ruin the show. Yet despite that fact, the episode was met with extremely positive reception among fans, being claimed as one of the most story-driven episodes in the show, and the most plot-developing in years. And to top it all off, the episode ended with the generosity of allowing the Exiters to finally compete in a BFDI season for the first time ever since BFB, which quickly got many fans invested and debating over who should join the show. But despite how game-changing and exciting this rejoin may be, it got me thinking. Do the Exiters really have a reason to join TPOT? It sounds like a dumb question, sure, but think about it. We haven't seen these characters compete in the show officially in over half a decade, and many of the eliminated contestants that were left in the exit have somewhat fallen off in the show. And many of them don't really share many relationships or connections with the current TPOT contestants, besides obvious picks like Match and Pencil. But then this fact alone got me digging deeper to an even bigger question. Is there a reason to have rejoins at all in the BFDI universe? Well, in today's video, I plan to take a look back at both the positive factors and the negative factors of BFDI rejoins, and make a final verdict on just how important they are on TPOT and the entirety of the show.
I'm gonna get you out of here!
Down in the description, timestamps have been labeled to help keep track of each section of the video you may want to tune on into, so be sure to use that how you please. I hope you enjoy this video, as it took me a really long time to make. So if you could, please consider subscribing, as it greatly helps and supports my channel. But without any more stalling, let's get into the topic of BFDI rejoins. Despite the subject of today's video, there are still many good things to come from rejoins. And in this section of the video, I plan to name just a few of them. So before we get into the controversy, let's talk about the positives of rejoins. Most obviously, rejoins provide the chance for a once previously eliminated contestant to compete again in the show, allowing the character's fan base to shine once more, and re-adding another unique character to blend in the cast. It's a simple concept, sure, but it's one that is so impactful. And in a show like BFDI, where anyone can be eliminated at any time, having a method to bring back a contestant always builds excitement among fans, no matter which character rejoins. Cough. Cough. It's a concept that holds the potential of bringing unique plot twists to play out, or even developing out the rejoiner even more, to the point where they may even have a chance to win the entire show, and satisfy many audience members. Additionally, rejoins bring the potential of creating brand new friendships and character interactions in the show, through the re-establishment of the previously eliminated contestant, as during the contestant's absence, it is likely that their environment around them would have changed significantly, so in an effort to connect back with the game, they would likely form new friendships with the characters left by them. It makes these characters' developments so much more interesting and engaging on the viewer, and is slowly becoming a key part of what's making rejoins so special, as not only does this cause a spike in character development for the rejoining contestant, but also the contestants they build friendships with.
Flower, I forgive you for being so mean and annoying and selfish and oblivious all the time.
And in fact, we have seen a connection like this appear somewhat recently in the show through the rejoining of Leafy and BFB, and her brief friendship she made with Eggy throughout pre-split, which although was a very minor subplot in the season, is still hard to deny how captivating their relationship was.
Ha! I win!
Wait, but you haven't won a single match in 72 games! Hey, you're the fake!
Is it so surprising that I managed to beat you at tic-tac-toe?
Lastly, although we haven't yet seen this occur properly in the show, rejoins also have the potential to form brand new arcs, or storylines in BFDI, and I just don't mean through interactions, as similarly to how new friendships can form through rejoins, new rivalries can also form as well between the rejoiner and other contestants, which further pushes viewer engagement among fans, and develops out these characters even more. And in a season as story-driven as TPOT, it's something that would greatly benefit the show, not only for the rejoiners, but for the rest of the contestants still left competing in the show as well. So, with all that said, it's safe to say that there are definitely significant positives that come from the concept of rejoins. They're able to bring back fan favorites, create brand new friendships, and even make way for major storylines or arcs to take place in the show. Which makes sense as to why they're so loved by fans, or anyone in the BFDI community period. But even with their benefits, it's still important to address the harm that comes from rejoins, and the ways they can ruin the show while simultaneously helping it. So in this next section of the video, let's take a look at the negative factors of BFDI rejoins, and investigate into the many issues that occur from this concept. With all the excitement built from the fans, it's easy for anyone to forget just how much damage rejoins can truly put onto the show, regardless of the good they can do. So in this next section of the video, I plan to explore 3 of BFDI's biggest negative consequences that come from rejoins, in an effort not to change your opinions on them, but rather provide insight into how they may act as a hazard to the show. So before I get shredded in the comments section for my heinous opinions, let's just take a quick look back at how rejoins can ruin the show. One major issue caused by rejoins that often goes underlooked is its ability to inadvertently cause unfair eliminations among the contestants. How so? Well, when a character rejoins into the show, fans celebrate their re-arrival into the cast, and consistently work towards keeping that character present in the game, not only because of their love for that contestant, but additionally because of the fact they're a rejoiner, and deserve time to redevelop themselves in the show, which in hindsight, does make sense. But because of the extreme amount of support these characters receive from the community, it causes many fans of other contestants to switch up their votes in favor of voting for the rejoining contestant, which then leaves these veterans to be constantly put at risk each ballot because of these more competitive voting conditions, as they'll struggle to compete in popularity when compared to the rejoiner, consequently bringing upon their elimination. And with how unbalanced votings already are in TPOT, these new conditions the current contestants would have to abide to may only worsen their situation in trying to win the game, and could possibly be the reason they get eliminated in general. Just like how rejoiners can cause major storyline impacts, they also have the potential to do the opposite, by playing little to no role at all in the season, which could serve as a huge problem on the overall narrative complexity of the show, and would waste the opportunity for an actual exciting character to rejoin the show. As if a character fails to redevelop themselves, connect back with the cast, or in general, struggles to do anything substantial in the show, it would have made no sense for such a character to return at all. And though that sounds a bit harsh, there's something important to understand in context to this claim. Rejoins are a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in BFDI, so when these moments come, it's extremely crucial that they are treated properly. But what do I mean by that? Well, imagine if Rocky rejoined the show, would anything exponential come out of it? Not really. It just re-adds a quote-unquote nothing character back onto the season, who already hadn't done much through their initial impacts on the show, and through their re-return, would only continue that exact same behavior. Do you see what I'm getting through here? Because of how rare rejoins are in the show, it must be utmost priority that the right characters are brought back over filler and bland ones, as if unnecessary characters were brought back instead. They would leave little to no impact at all on the show, and would only serve the purpose of bringing the downfall of other contestants, making their entire role in the show just pointless. But now that my first 2 points have been addressed, it's time we get into the third, and final reason as to why many would consider rejoins to be unnecessary in BFDI, and let's just say, things are about to sound extremely controversial. Now this is probably going to be the most controversial part of the video. After all, how could such a stupid rule be a genuine reason as to why rejoins wouldn't work in BFDI? But, let's just think about this for a second. Generally speaking, the entire point of rejoins is to bring back a once previously eliminated contestant, with the main intention of granting them another chance at winning the game. Let me repeat that. The main intention of rejoins is to allow characters another chance at winning the game. And with that fact in mind, tell me, how many times has a rejoiner actually won a season in BFDI? Well, not even once. But what does this mean? Well, if it is quite literally impossible for rejoiners to win seasons at all, at least in a viewer voting environment such as BFDI, it essentially sets them up as characters that are guaranteed to be eliminated in the cast, as similarly to how fans will protect rejoiners to stay in the game, they may also do the opposite and vote against them once they've begun to overstay their welcome back in the show. And with all these conditions in mind, it essentially means that from the start, all rejoiners are guaranteed to face elimination, no matter what character development they receive in their time back. Sure, There's always the slim chance that a rejoiner may one day overcome this rule. But realistically speaking, it would likely never be possible, and if these contestants continue to remain bound towards elimination, it essentially means that the only true purpose they have in their time back in the show, goes to worsening the chances of letting other contestants making it farther in the game, causing them to be dragged down into elimination alongside the rejoiners, and overall, harming the entire narrative of the show. Looking back, I may have sounded just a bit too harsh on Rejoins, but I still do think it's important that the community slowly becomes more aware of these negative traits, and make note on just how they can damage the show. They're able to rig eliminations, hold back the game flow, and even get in the way of the overall narrativity and storyline, and I don't mean in a good way. And with all these points aligned, it's safe to say that there are definitely some major problems being created through Rejoins. But, with both the positive factors and negative factors finally being explored, it's time we now answer the big question. Are rejoins truly necessary and beneficial in BFDI? Well, let's find out, through our third and final section of the video. Despite the points I've laid out in this video, I don't actually hate the concept of rejoins. In fact, I do think that regardless of their faults, they still offer a significant amount of benefits towards the show, and without them, BFDI just wouldn't feel the same ever again. However, in spite of their legacy, it's still important to become wary about the consequences they may bring in the long run of the show, and understand whether or not it is truly necessary to keep rejoins in general. So in this final section of the video, it's time we finally answer the big question. Are rejoins really necessary in BFDI? No. Unfortunately, no.
What?
Alright, I know that may be a heavy thought to take in, but just for a second, let me just try to explain the point I'm making. Sure, rejoins can bring a lot onto the table by creating brand new friendships, storylines, and even bringing back fan favorites onto the cast, but then again, we can't make note of this topic without talking about their harm as well, as rejoins are also able to cause unfair eliminations, disrupt the game flow, and even get in the way in the overall BFDI storyline, which all could prove to be a major hazard to the show. And truthfully speaking, it's because of these negative factors that causes me to argue against rejoins in BFDI, or any sort of debut in general. Just hear me out. Since the very first season of the show, rejoins have always been considered to be some of the highest points ever in the series, occurring 3 times in total throughout the season, and each time, building up an extreme amount of excitement among fans. But even during the earliest days of BFDI, the problems with rejoins still stood strong during these times, and even managed to hold back the show in such a simple era, causing the rejoiners to steal the spotlight away from many beloved contestants, and even bringing upon the elimination of a few of them as well, especially in the case of Blocky and Flower. And if such a simple concept could have such a negative impact on just the first season, imagine just how much worse they could get in others. For example, BFB. Arguably speaking, the problem with rejoins had gotten even worse throughout this portion of the series, especially with the debut of Leafy, and her role throughout post-split. As with her return, the rejoiner effect and the support from their fans guided her significantly throughout the game, bringing upon the eliminations of so many contestants, and stealing the screen time away from many characters. In fact, the problem got so drastic that the writers had to forcibly derail her near the end of the season, just so the other characters could stand a chance against her fanbase, which goes to show just how bad of an impact her rejoin had left on the show. And with just how drastic these rejoins have been throughout the entire series, it truly does make me worry what comes next for the future of the show, especially with the exit rejoin soon to take place in TPOT. And with just how much the 5th season has a focus on both its story and narrativity, it feels as if the show is spelling out its own doom by having a rejoin, especially with how much more competitive votings already are in the show. So, in summary, I personally do believe that the future of BFDI would be better off leaving rejoins forever in the dust, and pushing forward the series upon a new leaf, for the show's own good, and to preserve what truly mattered in the series. Rejoins truly are an interesting case in BFDI. On one hand, they're able to bring so much joy onto the show, and create so much excitement among fans, but can simultaneously bring so much chaos and hatred on the other. And whether you consider them good or bad, I'd personally have to say that the show would be better off without them, and would be best if it returned back to focusing on normal eliminations in the series. But hey, even if you don't agree with my opinion, I respect your own views either way. If you like rejoins, good on you, as they still are a crucial part of what makes BFDI so special. The main intent of this video was never to change your opinions on them, but rather make clear of just what problems they could bring on the series, and just how they could impact the show. And regardless of what your take is on this debate, thank you all so much for watching this video and listening to what I have to say. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to this channel. It usually takes me a while to make videos of this quality, so I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to help me push out more content. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and be sure to let me know in the comments if you are for or against rejoins. But with all that said, take care and have a wonderful rest of your day.